Hi, I'm James Van Osdell. This is Carcon Carne, a Q101 podcast. I'm recording a couple blocks away from Salt Shed, where Motoblot is happening as I'm recording this. Face to Face, headlining the final night of Motoblot, Trever Keith of Face to Face, my guest on this episode. Carcon Carne, sponsored by Easy Automation. Are you looking to transform your home office, maybe your business, your home, into a smart, seamlessly connected space? Easy Automation is a local business. They'll do business all across the country, but they're headquartered in Aurora, and they deliver custom automation solutions tailored to your lifestyle. Whether you're upgrading your home entertainment, streamlining your office tech, or enhancing the atmosphere in your restaurant or sports bar, they got you covered. Their expert team designs and installs personalized systems, from smart lighting and climate control to audio-video distribution and robust Wi-Fi networks, all managed through an intuitive app on your favorite device. Easy Automation makes technology work for you, effortlessly, reliably, and always with your satisfaction guaranteed. Visit easy-automation.net or call Dan at 630-730-3728 and take control of your environment today. Carcon Carne, also sponsored by 90 Days in the 90s, a rock and roll time travel story. It's a book. It is the ultimate novel about the 90s and Chicago's music scene. I remember the 90s very well. Worked at Q101 for the majority of them. I remember when Dookie blew up. I remember when Smash from The Offspring blew up. I remember Let's Go from Rancid taking off. That was all in like 1994. Suddenly, everything that was even punk adjacent had a mainstream moment. I think Face to Face also played the Oak Theater in 1994. I digress. What if you could time travel back to the 1990s, enjoying all the great music, the clubs, the moments? You can't, or maybe you can, sort of. You can live vicariously through Darby, the lead character of 90 Days in the 90s, who jumps backward in time via the gray line and takes it all in. To learn more, go to 90daysinthe90s.com or pick the book up on Amazon or wherever you buy books.
It's Carcon Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Carcon Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Osdell.
That right there is Trever Keith from Face to Face. As we're recording this, Motoblot is happening at Salt Shed. You are the headliner on Sunday nights.
Yes,
and
sir.
You're here all weekend.
Yes.
I mean, when you know that there's a good event happening, get there early.
Happy to be here.
So I want to talk about Face to Face, but some important things came up right before we started recording. You're a comic book fan.
Yes.
Or you were. You had like long boxes and long boxes of old comics.
Yeah, I had like 6 or 8 long boxes, but that was a little while back. When we were talking about it, it was a story you were telling me about having a record collection and then getting rid of it. I got rid of my comic book collection, but I actually sold it because I was collecting in the 90s and then kept it long enough that, you know, we had eBay and different things online, comic stores that would take it and pay you a bunch of money. It wasn't a bunch of money. I spent way more than I ever got back on it.
A couple new guitars.
But it was fun. Yeah.
As we're recording this, just this week, for the very first time, I sent 2 of my comic books to CGC to get them slabbed. I had awful condition copies of Daredevil #1 and Iron Man #1. The Daredevil came back properly graded as a 1.8.
Oh, boy. Jeez.
Iron Man's like a 4. But still, I mean, I can say I have them.
You know they have a service now, and maybe you didn't see it on the website, but if you send your comic book in and they're going to grade it below a 6 or a 7, you pay a kill fee and they just send it back to you. So you pay like $9 or something.
I think they're kind of cool in their little plastic frames, and you know, I'm not selling them, so they're fine for me.
It's a great way to keep it. I have 4 at CGC right now. I'm waiting to get back.
Really?
Yeah, and here I am saying, I'm not really into it anymore, but I have comics at CGC currently.
And now that I'm aware of it, the process, I kind of want to keep doing that. It's another obsessive hobby that
it's an older gentleman, more refined way of collecting your comics.
Which we are.
Now they're in cases with numbers on them and grades and
QR
like
codes.
A fine wine.
Yes. Since you mentioned older gentlemen, are you in fact an elder statesman of punk rock at this point?
I can eat from the Denny's senior menu, if that's what you're asking.
I mean, in punk rock terms, that's pretty great.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I like the moon over my hammy.
The temptation for a lot of people, myself included, when talking to you, I think, is to talk about longevity and legacy. It's kind of like Hey, you've been here for an awful long time. That's pretty cool, huh? So with that, where do we find Face to Face in 2025?
We are having the best time ever as a band. It's
Why is that?
we're on a run actually of that. We just there was a period where we went away for a little while, and when we decided to come back, we reformed with the best group of people that get along. There's a brotherhood. We love being out on the road together. We love traveling. We love playing music together. So we have a great time whenever we get together, and the music is only part of it. You know, we just like hanging out.
Well, and the pressure and the silliness have gone away, right? Those are things of the past.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I turned a corner at some point where I quit worrying about being competitive with other bands and all that kind of nonsense, and just do what you do. And once I was able to find that kind of zen with being happy with what we do and focusing only on that, then I was able to have a much better time.
Were you competitive like that? Were you that band that said, oh my God, how is Green Day doing this and we're not?
No, never. No, I mean, no, Green Day deserves everything that they've achieved. They're a hell of a band. Great dudes, great songwriters. So, I mean, there's other bands out there that I go, how the hell did they achieve that? But Green Day is not one of them.
The last time we talked was 30 years ago. It was at Q101. I interviewed you then. That was the self-titled album tour. Was that the peak of all the craziness?
I guess you could say it was, only because we were so green and so new at just what it was like to do all of this stuff, tour, make records, everything, that at that point every day was a new experience. You know, it was your first, like, we made this alternative record chart, or our song played on 120 minutes, or, you know, various things like that. So in some ways, yeah, that feels like a peak. But the longer you do it, the more accustomed you become to those things. Sure. So at some point, everything isn't brand new. You know, every new thing that you achieve isn't a brand new thing.
I think it would be foolish to assume that people watching, people here, people listening, didn't largely come on board with Disconnected, either version. It was a very long time ago. What do you hear when you hear that song in the present day?
I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean by the way?
Does it take you back to being a young Trever, that moment in time, the way you were as a songwriter back then?
Sometimes. I find it more with other songs. I don't know that Disconnected is really one that kind of jars me back into a place and time as much. I might be more emotionally connected to songs like A-OK, maybe. And Disconnected's a great song, and it's funny because it's something I do get asked somewhat frequently, like, aren't you sick of that song? Aren't you sick of playing it? But we don't play that song any more than we play any of our other songs.
And it genuinely makes people happy.
Yeah.
Like, how could you get sick of making people happy?
Never. I'm not sick of any of the songs, and mostly our set is it's usually made up of songs from the first 3 records, which we've been doing the longest, obviously. So, but no, it how could it get old? It's not really so much about the experience of the song itself. It's about each show being another opportunity to have a unique experience with the audience. So that never gets old.
Let's talk a little bit about that. The community. I mean, punk rock has always been about community. I think community meant something different in 1995 than it does now. I mean, you are as close as you want to get to your community through the internet and social media these days.
Right.
Is that a force of good or a force for evil?
Well, it's something that I've had to adjust to, and it's not particularly for me. I don't like being accessible 24 hours a day, and I don't really care much for social media. I don't want to share every mundane aspect of my life constantly. I think it's boring. I don't watch other people do it, and I wouldn't expect anyone would be interested in watching me. So even though there might be, but you know, it's I think that maybe is just a bit of a generational thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just not from that era or that world, so it doesn't appeal to me. But I don't begrudge anyone who enjoys that, which are mostly younger people at this point.
Thinking about community, like I said, we're at Loud Pizza Records at Salt Shed. Right before we started recording, a woman came in with her teenage son, said to you that your music helped her through hard times. Things like, I know you hear that stuff a lot. That's got to feel amazing.
Yeah, that's knowing that you made something that had a meaningful connection with someone that helped them emotionally at some point that's the best you could ever hope for as a creator with anything that you make. So I love hearing that.
Thinking about songs old and new, you've put yourself in a position recently to revisit everything, revisit the lyrics, compile them into a book.
Yeah.
What was that exercise like? Because I know for a lot of us, going back to old writing can be very uncomfortable.
No, there were some cringe moments, I suppose, but no, mostly it felt great, and it was a sense of accomplishment to look back over a decades-long period of writing and making music, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. This actually, there's enough here that it actually fits in a book, in a real book, and that felt like a nice sense of accomplishment. And
I like that the book is here as we're recording this, as are your art prints.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about those, because they're really cool.
Thank you. I started painting, I guess maybe about 3-4 years ago, and it wasn't really. Obviously, it's later in life for me. I was already in my 50s. It's a creative outlet I hadn't yet explored, and it's something that I'd wanted to try. So I studied a little bit on it, tried to refine my ideas and figure out what artists were inspiring to me, and just kind of took a stab at it and really haven't looked back. So I've done 4 of them now, and I've made limited edition lithographs for each of my original paintings. They're like a paper mache on the canvas, and then oil-based paint on top. Right now, I've finished the first in my second series, which is they're kind of all based on like Ignorance is Bliss songs. And initially, I was just going to do the one to celebrate the 25th anniversary of that album, and then I was like, I think I'm going to do a series because I like the power of threes. I like making things in threes. So my first set was 3, and I'm going to do 3 of Ignorance that I hope to have finished by the end of the year, and another set of lithographs available for that.
No Way Out But Through was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is there more to come? More new music from Face to Face?
There could be. At the moment, we're not actively, talking about recording or making a new album. Or
are you just kind of cherry picking shows and having fun?
More or less at this point. Yeah, because we're all sort of at a point in our lives where we don't. We're not independently wealthy or anything like that, but I think everyone is settled into having other things in life that we don't necessarily have to grind as hard as we used to. So the idea of doing some festivals throughout the year is a lot more appealing than getting into a van and doing 3 or 4 months of a tour.
I worry that
we're a little more selective about the shows we take.
Makes sense. I worry that you don't get enough credit for your covers albums, which I love.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
Love the covers. I mean, clearly similar songs growing up, like In Excess and Duran and that stuff. I want to call out Naked Raygun because
excellent.
We're in Raygun's house here in Chicago.
Yeah.
When did you become aware of that band?
I was a little bit of a late bloomer into punk rock, like we were talking about a little bit earlier. When I was a teen growing up in the Hessian high desert of California, it was all about hard rock, heavy metal, that type of thing. So like Iron Maiden was my favorite band.
A quick side note, best Iron Maiden album.
I'm going to have to probably go with Peace of Mind. Is my favorite.
Excellent choice.
Iron Maiden.
Flight of Icarus, The Trooper, can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's got all the classics, but I also really have a soft spot for Power Slave.
That 80s period was very, very ripe.
Anyway.
So Raygun.
So, yeah, some of the bands I discovered first in punk rock, and this is already like well after they're very well established, but I liked Bad Religion right when I heard it. I liked the Descendants the first time I heard them. And Naked Ray Gun was like one of the first bands I was introduced to that was a punk rock band. I was like, whoa, this is cool. And what I liked about Naked Ray Gun that was different from some of these other bands is they had different influences, and they almost had like this rock thing, going. And so there was a little bit of that crossover for me. I also like bands. They reminded me a little bit of like Chemical People and stuff, where you had this kind of rock, not quite metal thing, but little hard rock feel.
So Midwestern.
With punk rock. You know what I mean? And so since I was sort of transitioning into punk rock from hard rock, that was an easy bridge for me.
So you paid tribute to Naked Ray Gun. Chicago returned the favor when Rise Against covered you.
Yes.
Covered Blind. How cool was that?
Yeah, it was very cool. Very cool. Great band and super, super cool guys. We've had the opportunity to play shows together and hang out a bunch in the past, and that was a great split 7-inch. I was really happy to do that. It was awesome.
We love that band. So it's 2025. What is punk rock in 2025? I'm going to close with the big
Turnstile. I don't know. Was that right? To be honest with you, I don't really know. I'm not really one of those guys that has paid much attention to it, nor do I don't really listen to a whole lot of my punk rock circle of albums is very, very small. I'm way past the point of discovery and wanting to find out all of the punk rock bands that have ever existed.
That work's already been done.
Which ones? That was decades ago. So if something new, if I find something new and I really like it, I'll glom onto that for a while. But they're few and far between. I haven't really heard much new stuff. The last new punk rock band I heard and liked was Hot Water Music, but that hasn't been new in 15 years, maybe 20 years. I don't even know how long they've been around. 30.
There
So,
it is.
Well, I heard about them after they were already 15 years in, probably. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. My taste in music is eclectic. Some of it is punk rock. Much of it is 60s, bebop and jazz.
I've always said I don't trust people who only listen to one
country,
thing.
Rock, like all across.
Yeah,
I love 80s new wave.
I just road tripped to Cincinnati to see Devo this past week.
Excellent.
They were so great.
Very cool.
So great. All right, so the headline here, Face to Face continues on. It's 2025. Headlining Motoblot this weekend. We love your band here in Chicago.
Thank you.
Thanks for talking.
Yeah, thanks for having me.